I want to give you this Pontius Pilate book. I think you would love it.
Thank you.
Do you know where it is, Dawson?
Pontius Pilate?
Yeah, is it in? Might be in. Hey, Jessica.
Yeah?
Got a question for you as the book finder in chief. Do you know where the Pontius Pilate book is? Do we have any?
Should be right over here in front.
Oh, is it in biography? Okay, there we go. This one's incredible.
Okay.
You gotta do this one.
Thank you. I swear they make a movie out of this.
It would be an incredible movie. And you already got Deliver Me from Nowhere? Have you just haven't read it,
Yeah, I
right?
got that, yeah.
Okay.
How do you decide which books you're going to put
Uh,
on the shelf?
it's either ones I read and loved or they're ones that Sam read and loved.
Ah,
So that's the test. Not, which actually makes it hard because like that book, when I think it was successful when it came out, but it's like 30 years old. So I bought it and we talked about it, and then it totally wiped the publisher. Like the publisher was probably selling, I don't know, 10 copies a month or something for like 10 years, and then we sold so many they had to do another printing. So and then we bought all those. So that's always cool when you take a thing that like wasn't super well known or like hasn't been moving, and then it just like blows out the sales trajectory. That's my favorite. I've done that with a couple books. I don't know if we have we have this book Asylum that's really good. I never know where they are. Oh, have you read this book? Do you know who Jan Morris is, the historian?
no.
Oh, so she was in the British Army, and then was the news correspondent who climbed Everest with Hillary,
Oh,
and then wrote these 3 books.
Really?
This 3 like a history of the British Empire. It's like incredible. And then in 1965, so somewhere in there, basically comes to like she'd known it since she was a kid, but that she's trans, and then so she gets gender reassignment surgery, but in like the 60s, like when and then wrote. So
cool.
it's
Before it was cool.
Before it's cool, but it's like an incredible memoir from like this all-time badass. But I love reading books about people who went through something that people are talking about now. But because when they experienced it, when they wrote about it, there's no political baggage, there's no controversy, there's no phobia about it. It just is. And so I during COVID, you would read about like the Spanish flu, right? So you understand what's happening now through something that doesn't have any of the that's like one of my all-time favorite books. I just read it like maybe a year ago, and it blew my mind. It's really, really good. I think you'd like that one, and I'm going to give you one more. If I can find Asylum.
I might have to have the mailers to
Oh, you don't have a suitcase? We'll send them to you, that's
Squeeze
fine.
them in my backpack.
Well, I'll send them to you. I'm looking for this book, Asylum. Tristan, do you know where Asylum is?
Should be in Meredith.
Is it?
It's
Shouldn't
on
be.
back order.
Oh, wait, we don't have it?
Yeah, it's processing through Ingram now, so we're supposed to be getting it early next week.
Okay, thank you. That's another one. So this guy's name's William Seabrook. He was like the biggest journalist in the world in the 20s, but he's an alcoholic. And but that's not a thing. There's a pre-AA, and so he checks himself into an insane asylum to treat his alcoholism, and he writes about the whole thing, and it's like this fascinating memoir of this person struggling with this thing, kind of like that nobody understands is a thing.
It's called Asylum.
Yeah, he was this crazy travel journalist. Like he's the one who brought the word zombie to America. Like
Wow.
he wrote all these books that were, you read about it and you're like, oh, this book sold 200,000 copies in 1917, and you've never heard of it or whatever. But yeah, Asylum's another one that when I found it and started talking about it, there were basically like no copies left. And then this publisher brought it back in print, and then we seemed to not be able to keep it in stock. So maybe I'll just give you those two. Oh, have you read, that book is incredible. So good.
Yeah, he's already read it.
He has a new one that's very good also, this one. He signed a bunch of them when he was here. Have you read this one, Steve?
Thank you.
That's Lindbergh's wife.
I've read that a long time ago.
Oh, you did? It was a huge
I
book.
haven't read it in years.
Oh, it sold like 5 million copies or something.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
You live in Maryland. What do you like?
Would you mind sending this
Yeah,
to
of
me in
course.
the mail?
Yeah, that's what,
Okay,
that's what it's
great.
here for. And you'll
So I
sign
just
these?
write these,
Yes.
sign these, write these?
Just sign them, and then we'll,
We have a chair?
yes, we have a chair. Two important things.
So we're doing that. Here we
Yeah,
go.
could you bring that chair over? Oh, you want to do that one? Let me see if these are good.
This bookstore accounts for half my sales.
Let me see if I have some fresh Sharpies.
Remember what we're talking about? But
They are.
we'll see, I guess.
They
definitely are. Yeah.
Do you think about that when you're writing books? Is anyone be interested in this?
Oh, yeah, all the time. And I'm always figure nobody's going to be interested in this. And I'm always amazed when they are.
You want to do the Everson book too? Oh, yeah. So I picked two for.
It looks like that's what most of your
Oh, yeah, we need that How to Die.
I think we're out of How to Die. Do you have it upstairs?
Yes, it should be.
Okay.
The Memoirs of U.S. Grant. Have you ever read
Yes,
that?
uh-huh.
And he talks about Bastrop. He talks about when he was here fighting the Mexican War.
No, that's there's, I think there's a battle in Bastrop. I think there's a Mexico Bastrop. There might be. Or what did he say was in
I
Texas?
think it was Texas.
Really?
I mean, there was no battle he was talking about. He just talked about, that they were here with the army, on their
Wow.
way to
I didn't know that.
fight Montezuma, whatever it was. Yeah.
So,
So Bastrop was of
I
going
gotta check.
concern.
I gotta show you two things. But I just read this book. I just read this book. Wish you would look. It's called Grant's Final Victory, and it's about the last year of his life when he's dying of. So first, you know what happens to him at the end, right?
I don't.
He basically, so after the war, he becomes. He joins this Wall Street firm. He puts his entire fortune in it. His son is running it. He's working with this guy named Ferdinand Ward, who's basically like the Bernie Madoff of his day, but he doesn't know it. So Grant becomes obscenely rich and then loses all of it. And so he's a broken man. He has to hawk his war mementos to J.P. Morgan just to live. And so he starts to think about writing his memoirs. Cause he has this problem with his tongue. He keeps ignoring it. And then he finds out he's dying of tongue cancer. And so he realizes that he's going to leave his family destitute. So he starts to think of writing his memoirs. And so he starts to write the memoirs. He's thinking about it. And then Mark Twain hears that he's doing this and comes by to say hi and just asks him about the contract. And he basically realizes that Grant's about to get ripped off again. And Twain is like, I'll give you the money and we'll self-publish it and you can take 50% of the profits, and sets him up to do like a self-publishing deal. He realizes that this publishing company doesn't know what they're doing. And so Grant's basically dies like 3 days after he writes the memoirs, and then they make it's the equivalent of tens of millions of dollars because Mark Twain had set him up so well.
Wow,
But the
great
memoirs
story.
are incredible, right?
Yeah.
They're so good, and people thought they were so good. People thought Mark Twain wrote them because he'd been involved. But yeah, it's maybe the greatest American military memoir ever.
I mean, the reason I read it was because Mattis. I was
Yeah.
talking to him, and he said, "What's a great thing to read?" And he said that.
Well, I'll take you upstairs. I have a first edition of them, which you got to see. And then I have my other memento is I have a ticket to his funeral.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Though. A ticket to his funeral.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts. Here, Chelsea, you want to take this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dawson, what I'm working on now is a sequel to that.
Oh, no.
Stephen photo on the back.
Is that, okay, so that's the one that you're talking about in your newsletter where
Yeah.
you're talking about you got some struggles.
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Wait, so I think you mentioned it was a work of fiction.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kicking my butt right now.
Which edition of Grant's memoirs are you reading? Which one did you get?
It's called The Personal Memoirs of, I don't know, it's a,
I was just wondering,
it's a real quality version.
I have like the Library of America version, which is really good.
If you have it here, I can tell you it's the same one.
Okay, I'll show you. But here, you got. I'll show you this. This is my other one. I got a free French flag.
Wow.
It looks like there's wood on it. I don't want to know, but
Wow. Probably coffee.
yeah,
But maybe it was Charles de Gaulle's coffee.
could be.
This is a great little room right here. It's my favorite room. Oh, yeah, that's definitely not what
No, this is the first edition that I read. I read one like this from Library of America.
Wow.
But isn't that crazy? So,
Yeah.
so what Twain's idea was that they sell them door to door by subscription. That's how books. That's how his books were selling. So what he had this. He was like, look, if you go with them, they'll slap it in a few bookstores. And he's like, the way for this book to really work is you got to send salespeople out all over the country, pre-selling them by subscription. So that was his whole plan, and that's why it became this huge book, and that's also why Grant's family was provided for from this thing.
Wow. Huh.
Isn't that
I
nuts?
had no clue that anybody ever sold anything like that.
Yeah, that's how book. You know, like back in the day, you know, this is like probably what, 1887, 88. So there wasn't like big retail stores. So they would have to. Someone would come if you lived in Bastrop, Texas in 1888, right? Like, how did you buy stuff? You
Yeah.
had catalogs, or someone would come to
Yeah.
your door and be like selling pots and pans. And you would be on these different subscriptions, and so that's how memoirs. And then this is his it's a ticket to his funeral.
Wow. Now, where did you come by this?
Wow.
Wow.
On an
A
auction,
ticket to his
Yeah.
funeral.
August 4th.
I'd love to go, but I can't afford it.
Well, I imagine as a dignitary, you know, like it was probably a pretty hot ticket to get. Political funerals are a big deal now, right? Like they don't just allow anyone.
Yeah, I guess
to
so.
street.
But I didn't know you could buy a ticket. I thought you had
Well,
to
I mean,
be
maybe
like
it's maybe
Hillary
it was for,
Clinton or
maybe it was
something.
for. I don't know if you paid for it, but I
Uh-huh.
think it's maybe it was friends and family. I don't know.
There's a really terrible movie that I love called Midway. I don't know if you've seen the most recent Midway.
No.
This is just a very small thing. But they make a point in the movie, Admiral Yamamoto, whichever one it is reading the memoirs of U.S. Grant.
In the movie.
Yeah. I'm not sure why they
Wow.
make a point of this, but it's a big, the camera zooms
Yeah.
in on it.
Wow. Interesting. Sherman's memoirs are also incredible.
Yeah, that's
I have
another
a
thing.
Sherman painting.
That's Sherman, yeah. I also bought that book because
So
of
good.
Mattis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which
They're
I have
both-
not read yet.
They're both incredible. Yeah. And Grant, when you see Grant, you realize Grant, all this stuff about Grant being an idiot or a butcher or a drunk, you realize he's a genius. Just this sort of a simple, straightforward genius.
Yeah.
It's incredible. There's a scene, I think I tell it in the book I just sent you, in the Justice book, I tell a story about, and both of them talk about it in their memoirs, but at when Grant is sent to take Vicksburg, he has the plan. We're going to run the gunboats, we're going to come, he has this complicated plan, and basically Sherman's like, it's a terrible idea, it won't work, it's going to end in disaster, we can't do it. And Grant's like, okay. And Sherman goes back to his tent and he goes, I don't think he understands me. I'm going to lay out my objections in writing so he can really understand. And he sends Grant this letter, and Grant gets the letter, takes it seriously, but decides it's the right thing to do. And then, of course, Grant does take Vicksburg, and it's the turning point of the war, and it sends Grant on his path to ultimately take over the Army of the Potomac. And so nobody remembers. Even the next day, or like a week later or something, this foreign news correspondent is there, and Grant comes over, and he hears Sherman talking to him, to the reporter, and he goes, "I just want you to know, I thought it was a bad idea, and I sent Grant a letter. All the credit goes to Grant." He was like, he wasn't trying to say, "I told you so." He was trying to make it clear that Grant was the genius, and there was no shared credit. And then when Grant is writing his memoirs, Sherman would come check on him because he lived in New York and he knew time. He knows Grant, and he knows that almost certainly Grant won't mention this. So he digs up the letter and the telegram and sends it to him again, just to say, you better include this in your memoir that you were right and I was wrong. And that was...
And does he?
Yeah, and that to me embodies their friendship and their collaboration, because technically even then Sherman outranks Grant. And so he could have... And you know, all the Civil War generals are constantly stabbing each other in the back, but Sherman is so loyal to Grant that even when he disagrees and he's proven wrong, all he's thinking about is...
Good guy. Wasn't Vicksburg like a heavy casualties on it?
Yeah.
It's kind of a disaster, but they won anyway.
That's Shiloh. Shiloh is the one that goes... Vicksburg is this slow, methodical siege, and then they take like 10,000 prisoners. It's probably it's the moment that the Civil War is lost, but then they fight for another 2 years. Like the South, if they were at all rational, would have surrendered. Actually, Gettysburg doesn't matter at all, and once they lose the Mississippi River, the war is over. They just don't know it, and they can't accept it.
What was sort of interesting, I haven't gotten to this point yet in the memoirs, was my great grandfather fought on the campaign in the Civil War on gunboats to retake Texas.
Really?
And so he was on the same rivers that Grant was on.
Yeah.
The Red River, the Arkansas River, wherever the hell that was.
Well, it's weird. You read it and all these Navy guys are involved. You don't really get how the Navy's involved.
Yeah.
And then you realize, the rivers were just as dangerous as the ocean at that point. And that the ocean was how you traveled the rivers were how you traveled the United States. So Vicksburg is effectively a naval battle. What Grant does is he sends the boats down. Vicksburg's on these bluffs overlooking the river, and so Grant, going with the current, sends them down past the gun battery. So they have to sort of go past this blast of gunfire, knowing that once they get past, they can't go back the other direction. So then it's kind of a burn the boats behind you moment, where once he does it, then they come up from the other side. But there's all these great naval battles. In rivers.
And I guess the interesting thing was, at least when I was reading about this, was that what happens is the rivers would drop and the gunboats would be stuck.
Yes.
And the Confederates would just wail on them. They were like, ironclads, right?
Yes.
But sharpshooters putting bullets right through the little holes in the side,
Well, I have
loopholes.
I have another book for you. I'll give it to you.
Man, I'm coming out of here with things I can never finish.
No, and not only...
I love this whole place up here, Ryan. Oh, you got Walker Percy. I think you showed me that before. Yeah.
Yes. The river like would flood, and there was it was like this. There was all these sunken things that could sink your boat at any moment. And one of the plans for the campaign at Vicksburg is he wonders if he can dig like the river has this bend in it, right? And Vicksburg is at the bend in the river. And so he wonders if he starts to dig a channel like at the top of the bend, will enough water come through the channel that it'll just reroute the river. So at one point, that's his plan. He sends these thousands of men, and they start just trying to redirect the whole Mississippi River like something out of ancient warfare. And it almost works. But they don't have, like today, that would have worked if they'd had tractors and dump trucks and stuff. But he tries to reroute the Mississippi River. There's this guy named Lee Sandlin. He's this amazing writer. He wrote a book called Wicked River about the Mississippi River in that era. And it's almost send you this one too. See, it says, beginning in the 1800s and climaxing with the siege of Vicksburg in 1863, brings to life a place where the river pirates brush elbows with future presidents and religious visionaries share passages with thieves. It's totally changes your understanding
I'm
of the Mississippi River.
surprised they haven't done movies about this whole stuff, you know?
About, yeah, I
About
know.
Sherman or Grant or what, you know?
He's very
Why
briefly
can't
in the
Brad
Lincoln
Pitt
movie.
do that?
I know. Grant's story is incredible. It's because the reason there's no Grant movie is because all the lost cause bullshit. Like our understanding of Grant as
Yeah.
is all basically Southern racist.
Yeah, they'd never,
Right.
would never
There's
sell
a lot
in
of Robert
Southern-
E. Lee movies.
Southern,
Yeah.
yeah, Southern movie theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And only slowly now do we understand and appreciate him. I mean, we talked about the Klan in our interview. He's the one. He basically sets up the Department of Justice to go after the Klan.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, because
There was no Department of Justice.
there was no federal. How do you deal with a multi-state criminal organization designed to deprive Americans
Yeah.
of their rights to vote, especially when the Southern government, state governments are tacitly condoning what they're doing. And so then 100 years later, this is the exact same problem
Yeah, we're still
that Kennedy and Johnson
fighting that
have
same thing,
to
yeah,
deal with
yeah.
because they realize, oh, like I just read this book, 3 Lives from Mississippi, about the murder of those 3 civil rights workers. Like, murder is not a federal crime. So how did, but the state police and the local police are complicit in the murders. So how does the government investigate and prosecute? It's the same thing. This is basically FBI is
Yeah.
comes a little
And
bit
the
before
same
that.
fight is going on today,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Huh.
It's nuts. Well, it was amazing to see all million these. And do you
Yeah,
need anything else?
thanks for having me, Ryan.
Of course.